Okay, so here we go again for another attempt at, once again, nice little recording showing all the wonderful little details. And what it is I bought a wonderful little camera. It's an iPivo and hooks right up to my computer, but what I've been able to determine is there is some sort of conflict with the software, although it is for a Mac, and I use a Mac. So anyway, I'm going to run over the things that we missed. It wasn't that many. It was just going on with a few of the little details. So we're just going to go over those right now and get those up to speed. So what we had done, where we left off, is we had done all the shading. We'd been playing with the fluid acrylics, which were just totally awesome. I hope you enjoyed them as much as I do. And then what we did is we started doing some little details and just some fun little things. And we started with the little dress, the little girl down here. And what I had done was we started off and I had shaded her and everything. I dotted her with warm white. And then I moved up and I dotted this little girl here with the coral blush, the pink color, to coordinate with the watermelon and the dress. And then we had dotted this little girl up here with the sweet mint. We just kind of tied, the visuals all together. And then I went through and I added some little hair with my liner brush. And I always use my 10-0 liner. It's just my favorite brush, and my black gold. Like little workhorses, they're just wonderful. And I had lined in their hair, and it was so cute. The hair for the little girls, this one and this one, is done with lamp black. And what I do is I turn it towards me, and then I pull. So I just did 3 little hairs out each. Like if there's 5 of them, go by your pattern. I start with 1 in the middle, 1 on each side, and then I just put the little ones in the middle. Same with this little one, it's done with the lamp black. And this girl here, because she was a little bit bigger, I did her hair with traditional burnt umber, just for some fun, And then I went through and I dotted them just to add color. If you really wanted to be like really anal, and I could have been mean, we could have done little tiny bows. But I dotted this hair with the coral blush, this hair here with the sweet mint, and the big girl hair with the sweet mint. So we had done that. And then I had gone and I dotted, continuing on with the warm white, is I had dotted at the arms. And I usually dot my cuffs and collars. You'll see that quite often in my projects. I just think it's fine. It finishes them off kind of nice. So we did those. And then we went ahead and we did our watermelon seeds. And those are done with lamp black. And I used the same brush. I used my my 10-0 liner because the end of the brush is just the right size for what I want to do. So I'm going to show you how I do that. And these are really fun. They're so easy. They're quick. So I take my black, and I do this with snowflakes. I do this with, make little tiny daisy flowers with it. Is what I'll do is I'll dot the end of the brush into the lamp black, and then I'll put it down on my surface, and I'll just pull. And I can usually get 2 per load. Pull quickly, and it's like a flick. Just flicking it towards me very quickly. So that's how I do the watermelon seeds. So I went ahead and I did them all the way around here, 2 of those. Once they were dry, I went ahead and did the same, and I just highlighted them each with a little bit of warm white. And then I took my the sap green, the fluid acrylic, which I had, and I did the stripes on the watermelons. And that was with my number 4 flat, and it's just because I wanted them transparent and just sort of fun to see. So that I used the sap green. If you want, you can use your evergreen. That's just, water it down. You'll get exactly the same look if you don't have the sap green. And then I went and I did all these little ruffles. And these little ruffles are fun. And they are done with warm white. And I'll show you those. And what I like about those, I use them to finish off my little dresses as well. And they're just fun. They're quick and easy to do. They just add a little interest to your project. So in the same way, is I'll load my brush up. And I'll get I'll load it up, and I'm just going to move my piece so we can see the paper here. And I just do little tiny C strokes. Just make little scoops. And I'm going to move this down a little bit. See if I can get closer so you can see how I do those. Just like so. And you can get 3 or 4 out of each load. Reload my brush, do a couple more. And I just let them go. They're about 1/4 inch wide. Maybe a little bit smaller depending on the dress that you're going to do. blend it. And I do like them fairly solid. So that's how we're going to finish off the scallops on the bottom of each dress, the big dress as well, at the sleeves. Put this back. So once we've done the scallops on, so we're going to do the scallops on this, on the Three Little Egg Dolls, then on the sleeves, on the dress collar, and along the bottom of the dress. So that's all done with warm white. I'll get that done and out of the way. And now since I have the lamp black out, because we did the little seeds, and you want to be careful with the little seeds, you don't want to put your hand in there. So what we're going to do is we're just going to turn my piece around to say sideways so I'm away from the seeds. And what I want to do is I want to shade the bird, the base, and the roof. And that's with the lamp black as well, because they were all done with the zinc. So what I do is I shade, oops, I have to go the other way, this way. I shaded along the forepart of the roof with lamp black to darken it. I shaded along the bottom of the bird with lamp black, along the bottom of the wing. And I'm going to mop it a little bit as I go, just to soften. And I'm going to shade along the very bottom of the base. And don't forget that little piece over there on the side. Turn everything around. And we're going to shade under the wing, assuming that your other float is dry already. So that's with lamp black as well. And we'll just mop it out. Soften that a little bit. And what else? Let's see. We're going to do some more on the base. So the base here as well. I'm going to go around the stem. I'm going to go back to the stem too because I forgot to add that in before because that wasn't part of the ones that disappeared. Is that it was done exactly the same color blend as the box was. I triple loaded my brush. Double loaded my brush with traditional burnt umber tipped in light buttermilk. But first what I did is I base coated the whole stem in espresso and then used the double lip traditional burnt umber with light buttermilk and just kind of dragged over top of it just to kind of give it that look of an old twig. So that's how I did those. We're going to finish the shading on the base. I'm going to turn it around. Be careful of your dots. And we're going to shade the top here. So that's giving us a little bit of interest there. Mop that out. Okay, so then what we're going to do is we're going to pick up a little bit of light buttermilk. It's like we could use warm white, it's already out, but I don't want to because it's just that little bit too bright. So a little bit of light buttermilk. And what we're going to do with the light buttermilk is we're going to highlight the three things. We're going to highlight the bird's wing, just on the top here. Just give them a little bit of pizzazz. It's just soft enough to give them that little bit of a highlight. Okay, then we're going to highlight the top of the roof, just up here, like so. And then this part of the base. And once you mop it, you'll lose any lines. And we're just going to scooch along in between the two floats just to kind of add a little bit of depth there. There, with the lamp black. This is where we're going to go into here, and this is what really makes me mad. You know, I've painted this thing, I swear, about 5 times, and I've had to just, only once have you ever got to watch me actually paint it. So what we do now is we're going to take the lamp black, and we're going to water down our lamp black with our liner, with 10-aught liner, and I'm going to start just adding a few lines. And what I did was I found those little bits that I had showed earlier that, like in here, where it was, you know, maybe the base coat showed through and it was imperfect. So I looked for some of those little imperfect spots. And what I did is I then filled them in with the liner brush and lamp black. And I looked for a few more. I wanted to concentrate mostly on getting the big ones in to start. And then, you know, if you pull your brush and just kind of let it flay out and then go off in its little own, like bring it back up on the tip, you'll get some neat little crack looks going on. So I went along and I did a few Primarily you want to enhance also where your where the lines were, like right in here. That you got your 3 boards, and we want to make sure that we're sort of still working with that to keep those in there. And there's a few little lines to, you know, make the board look old. Did the same over here. And I just let it, you know, just kind of start wide and let it narrow out to a little bit of a point. Let's add a few here, here, just a few, sketch them in. And if you want to add like a fun little knot or something, you could. Why not? Just creates a little bit of interest in there. So you're going to go and do as many of those until you like it, you know, find out what you like. I also outlined the box with lamp black, but we're going to go through and we're going to outline everything after anyway, so we'll do that later when we do the rest of the outlining. Then I got out a little bit bigger brush, back to my number 4 flat, and what I did is I gave myself a little handle right here. You got to have some place to pick the box up with, and most of these do have a little handle. And I filled in this section right here. Filled that in with lamp black. So now it's dark and it's part of what used to be. And then the number 4 flat is the perfect size to make a door on the little house. So I'm going to load it with lamp black. We're going to give him a little door to go into. Right there. There's a little folk art door, so it doesn't have to be anything perfect. It's oversized. Okay. And then I went back to my liner brush, into my lamp black, and just gave him some little windows. Little lines for windows. And not in any perfect order. Okay. How many did I do first? I did like 5, 4 or 5. There. So that's how I finished off the house. It's just, you know, it's a little folk art house. There's really not much to him. And of course, because he is a little house, he needs a doorknob. So let's go into our warm white. And my tiny little doorknob. Right there. Okay, so the next thing that I did was to add in all the stems. And how I did the stems was I used a brush mix of lamp black and evergreen. You can use black green if you choose, but I chose to use my brush mix. And I just load my brush up with evergreen, dip it in the lamp black, swirl it around, and that's how I'm going to paint in all the little flower stems. I just didn't want them like totally stark black. So I looked at my pattern and I found all my stems. So like there was one here, so I did this little one here, and this little one she's holding down here, and then of course there's the big one up here. And this one up here, you know, you can stay away from the line if you need to, because if yours kind of goes over top of the crack, you don't want to have that. I lined in all my little leaf centers down here and here, like all of these little guys. Tick, tick. And of course your leaf, you're going to want to add the one on here. Draw that one in your leaf centers. And big one in the center is actually he's painted with the liner brush as well. So I put my pressure and then I pull with the pressure and allow it to come up. And keep coming as far as I can until it comes up to a little point. So that's how I did that. If it gets too black and you're not happy with it, then you can just go ahead and add a little bit of the evergreen just by itself and just kind of drag it through just to highlight it a little bit. And that is actually where we left off. So now I'm very excited. We're all caught up, and with the hope that this is actually filming. So now we're going to go onto the little details, the finishing, and we're going to talk about the little tag. So I have a little tag. With the original piece, what I did is I did it with paper. I have a paper tag. This one, I have a little wooden tag. You can cut it out of paper if you want. I'm going to do that. It's been base coated with light buttermilk, the same as the sign up here, and it's been shaded with raw sienna, the same as the shine up here. What we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and we're going to glue the tag down. And you know, you can use the matte medium, it isn't adhesive, or if you happen to have some glue handy. I love my Aleene's tacky glue. I should write it in the descriptions, but I didn't. This stuff is absolutely amazing. It will stick anything to anything. even the lid. So that's how I'm going to stick this little fella up here. I'm going to stick that there. That's my personal choice. You can do, you know, some different options. So I'm just going to stick that down, let it dry in place. This is a chance for me, I'm thinking, to bring in the blue, the turquoise blue, and I was thinking for Sweet Mint, what I'm going to do is on my original I have a little red heart. In this one, I'm going to do the Sweet Mint heart. Kind of tie it all in together. It's kind of fun. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to take the end of my brush, same way. I'm going to do dot and a dot side by side. Put that brush down and very quickly pick up the fine end of my stylus. And I'm going to reach in here and I'll pull this down to a little point and just kind of fill it in. Look how cute that is. Little heart. How sweet is that? So we're going to go and add some little eyeballs to my girls. And they are my famous, let's put a lot of work into them, not eyeballs. They're little tiny white dots, little tiny black dots. Fresh black. So little tiny black dots for their eyes. This one. Of course, wherever you put the dots is where they're looking. And the big girl, a little bit bigger eyes. Because they're dolls, they're primitive dolls, so they really don't have anything, you know, overly exciting going on. So while those are drying, I think what we're going to do is we're going to stick on the flowers. So while our dots are drying, so when we talked about the flowers, I chose to go white this time because I think it's going to be fun with some of my pieces. But I also have some other, you know, multicolored flowers. So there's another idea too. We could throw a couple of turquoise flowers, you know, down into the dress, a few more others here and there. The white ones are fun too because you can actually tint them with the fluid acrylics. I do know my video is upside down. Okay, so when I want to adhere these, I actually do use the matte medium for my adhering, which is really neat because it's actually an adhesive and you wouldn't think so. So what I do is I'm going to take the end of my brush, make sure it's clean from my paint, I'm going to dip it in the matte medium, and I'm going to stick it right where I want, make a dot, right where I want to put my flower. Pick up my flower and plop it down there. And it'll stick. It's not coming off. Let's see. We can put a bigger one up here. This one actually has bigger flowers. So I'm thinking the bigger flower up here. White flower. You can stick with all the small ones. No, I did a bigger one the first time around. And let's see, where's the other little ones? Oh, she's got one down here. So we're going to put a little flower on her. And then I decided I thought it was kind of fun just to pop a couple down in here. And then we'll add little lines to them after. So if you want to add more flowers in different places, you go right ahead. That's what makes it kind of fun. And because these are paper and this is a decoupage medium, it doesn't really matter. Big flower. So I added a couple down there. And that was it for my little flowers. If you want to add more, you go right ahead. I'm also thinking I'm going to add a couple of little, some little details into here with a little bit more turquoise. And I'm going to take my stylus, and this is only if you want to. I'm going to actually give little tiny dots around her collar with the turquoise. You can just outline it in black if you want. I just thought it's a little something to add a little bit extra. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add them all around the entire dress because I want the turquoise. Okay, that was fun. So got all the little dots on. And that just sort of ties it all in now. It's a little bit more of the turquoise. That is it for all those tiny little details. Let's just see now. I think if our eyes and stuff are dry, we can just pop in our little highlights with warm white. Little tiny pupils. How cute is that? Okay, so one more thing I've noticed that we haven't talked about yet was the line work on the rind. I went ahead and I did the rind with light buttermilk. And when I do that, I don't water down my paint. I dip my liner brush right smack into a nice fresh puddle of paint. And then when I do so it's actually quite juicy, like my brush will look like that. It'll be a lot of paint on it. Then I'll just go along putting pressure and lifting and pressure and lifting as I go along to create that line between the watermelon. I mean, that's the way I like to do them. Those are little Deb watermelons. So now, what you're going to do next is we're going to go along and we're going to add our letters. This one here I called it homemade. If you want to add something else onto it, you can. That's certainly your choice. It also needs to be attached to something. So with lamp black, I'm going to attach her to a little bit of a string. And you want to use a real string, you could too. Oops. A little string. I'm going to put a bow, just because I think I need a bow. How cute is that? So I'm going to write on this. Home. Because it's, think of it as sort of handwritten, right? Home. Homemade. Just fit. Okay, so we've done summertime up on there. And then, of course, if you look, the little bird here is actually holding on to a string that is then tied to the little sign. So we're going to put that little string in right now. Because it's kind of coming out. It's there. And it's coming out here. And up over here. That's how we do the little sign. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and I'm going to outline my whole design, because that's what I want to do. And then we're going to come back and we're going to finish with the flowers with the fun stuff, the liquid glass and the beads and things. So when I outline, I just don't really put too much thought into it. I just like the fact that it just brings my design to life. If you want to use a pen, make sure it is your archival pen. Just like your ink, it needs to be an archival permanent ink. I do like the Pitt pens, and the microns are usually pretty good. But I like the way that the way it ends up looking when I do my own liner work, because it's not perfect and it's all sort of whimsical and out there and squeaky. Okay, so we've gone through and we've outlined the entire design. So I've taken everything, outlined everything with lamp black and a 10-aught liner. It's just one of those tedious things, you didn't necessarily need to watch me do it, but it is the next step. I've added a couple of little bows just for fun. You don't have to, I just thought I'd add those in. So now we're ready to work with the liquid glass, and that's what's really exciting, and that's a fun little product. This would be liquid glass. So this is where we're going to use this, and this is where we're going to use the beads and the my flat back crystals. I buy these at Michael's, Hobby Lobby, whatever. You can use the Swarovskis, but you can also get a cheaper brand as well. And I like to find the fall colors strictly for this particular project, and I have them like in Christmas colors and reds and things. But for this one, I thought these fall colors would be really pretty. So I'm going to put them out right there. Fun part's collecting them all when we're done. Make sure that we have them all back. So this is going to go on almost in a milky look. We're going to take the top off. Try it out on your palette. Make sure that you're coming out. So this is what it's going to look like. It's going to look really cool. I'm going to zoom my camera in. Because it's just too much fun not to play with. So we zoom in. So I'm going to, it's got a little nozzle on it. We're just going to squirt out a bunch. Put quite a bit out here. Swirl it around. You're going to start with quite a bit, and then I'm going to start moving it around. Because you don't want a thin coat, but you don't want a super thick coat. Take the end of my brush, and I'm just going to swirl it around and pushing it out towards the outer edge. Bearing in mind, it is going to dry clear, so don't fret about, you know, what's it going to do. It does take quite a while, so that's why I kept this for the very last step. And I am really praying that this is recording. I don't want to do this again. So that if it starts getting a little thin, you know, just go ahead and add a little bit more. It's also self-leveling, so it will start to level out on its own, even though we're putting in the swirls. Oh, I love this stuff. So fun. You can do so many fun things with this. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of my little crystals, and if you have a little set of tweezers, those are really handy. And if you don't have little tweezers, then you have to use your fingers. So I have these little tiny tweezers right here. So I'm just going to pick up a couple of these. Try not to let them go swinging off. Just drop them in there. A couple of different colored ones. I'm going to mix them up. I don't want to use all the same size. I just want a few different ones in here. Sometimes where they land is where they're going to stay. I think one more. Color. Oh, orange one, bigger. One more. And maybe a little tiny one. I want things to be a little bit even. Oh, oops. Oh, no. Oh. So now the fun part is we're going to go grab a few beads. I picked turquoise beads because that's the sort of, I liked the turquoise with the browns. Take a few little beads. And I'm just going to drop a couple in here. Just add a little bit of texture to my sunflowers. Not too many, just a few. And they're going to fall in on their own, so don't worry about them. Where things land is where they land. I think that's good. So that's for those guys. And that's how fill this guy in. So fun. Spread that around a little bit. So like I said, I just wanted to have a couple of little beads for eyeballs. I just thought he was just too cute not to have eyeballs. So this got little blue eyeballs. So that was kind of fun. All right. On the off chance that I have to do this a second time because my video went weird, I'm going to do this one down here. It's the same thing. We're going to fill it in. Use quite a bit. Okay. Then we get the end of our brush and kind of push it around. And if it goes on top of the flower petals, you know, it's not bad. I'm just trying to avoid it because I don't want that texture on there. I always like finding these fun little different techniques and little textures and products to play with, because they just add fun little things to a piece that might otherwise just be kind of dull. Okay, tweezers. And it's kind of funny, you chase these around sometimes. There. Where they land is where they land. I just got to say that once I'm finished this video, it's the last time I'm using this video software to make a feature-length video. Maybe just some little demo videos, I think. At least I don't mind doing those the second time if something happens. I love my Mac, but every once in a while, there's always something. One more. Yeah. So I'm going to put a few little purple blue guys in. Trying to breathe as you're chasing little beads around. And, you can use all sorts of other things too. You don't have to use beads. You can put all sorts of other things in here if you wanted to. You can use this technique to create all sorts of really neat things. Twing. See? Where are the beads going? There. Okay. So that's basically how we've done this project. So go ahead and do the other two, and I'm going to do the other two, and then that's the project. That's what we've done, and I hope you've had a lot of fun working with me on this one. I apologize for the quirks and things that have happened. So anyway, thank you so much for painting with me, and I hope you've had a lot of fun and enjoyed the Art Playdate project that I chose this year, and definitely all the other Art Playdate projects done by absolutely amazing talent. It's an honor to be included amongst such great talent. So happy painting. Feel free to contact me if you have any questions at adeb@shaw.ca, and can't wait to see what you guys come up with. Thanks. Happy painting.